Hey guys, welcome to Oddcast. It's Joe and CN, and we're back. And I had a question for you, CN. Does DC have superheroes other than Superman?
Of course. I mean, you got like like real superheroes.
Like superheroes. Only because, and this is the point that I wanted to get at. So, as you may or may not know, Judo and I have a sordid history about The Flash, starring Ezra Miller, and
Yep.
James Gunn considers it to be one of the best superhero movies he's ever watched. Didn't do so hot. It's actually Warner Brothers' biggest movie flop ever, which I think
hard.
is hilarious.
Hard.
Because if you're going to use Michael Keaton to sell the movie, they should have just given us Batgirl. Like you would have been fine. And then it could have been an elsewhere thing. Everybody loves Brendan Fraser. Everybody loves Michael Keaton. You would have put the two of them in a movie. I don't know why you opted to make that the tax write-off and not The Flash. But whatever. But that's besides the point. What I actually wanted to discuss was this. So Zack Snyder did this thing, which maybe you caught on to, Judo, because you watched these movies. Maybe it sticks out in your brain. There's only one superhero that matters in the Snyderverse, and that is Superman.
Superman.
Because with the exception of Wonder Woman, the first one, all of the other movies are, where is Superman? Every single one is, where is Superman? Or we need Superman. Yep. Batman versus Superman. How are we going to defeat Doomsday? We need Superman. The Justice League. How are we going to defend the Earth? We need Superman because he makes all of us look like chumps, even when we're all working together. Because an entire team of superpowered people is not equal to one Superman. The Flash. They have countless universes to go to. In the Flash's solo standalone movie, what is the theme? We can't defeat Zod unless we have Superman. All of the cameos that they do at the end, they're all Superman. Why is it all Superman?
I did not understand the whole thing. I mean, I'm talking, what I thought was hilarious about that, and to your point, Joe, yes, it seems like for some reason DC can't hold a DC superhero movie without needing or bringing in Superman, to the point to where they even brought in the Superman that didn't happen, and that was the Nick Cage Superman. Like,
yeah, instead of bringing in, one of the other Batmen, like Christian Bale, which would have been a fun, hidden thing. Or even if you didn't want to bring in the better Flash from the Flash television show.
You have failed this city.
Pretty sure that's not your line.
Oh, you could have brought in,
honestly,
the Green Arrow or something.
I was expecting Grant to come through. I was expecting him to show up like he did, like Ezra Miller did in the CW Flash. Like, I thought that was going to happen. I was waiting for it. It didn't happen. I got more Superman.
Yeah, it was just, all of it was Superman. It was and even Black Adam was a build-up to a Black Adam Superman cross. Everything is Superman. And it bothers me, not just because I think that there are so many other fun characters out there. Even Shazam was, I dream of meeting Superman, and then at the end he meets Superman. But it bothers me to the point where all of the other heroes in DC could vanish, and as long as they have Superman, they seem to feel that they'll be okay.
Well, wait. So I'm going to ask two questions. One, do you think it's because Superman's been there since the start of, with Christopher Reeve's Superman? It's been its number one big thing, so it's like a sure thing, so let's bring Superman in. Or is it because, well, no, I'm not going to say that. What I'm going to say is the fact that people would make the argument that Marvel did the same thing with Iron Man.
But he's actually the argument against what you're saying. Because up until the first Iron Man movie with Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man was not one of their number one contenders. The number one selling Marvel superhero?
The Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, who has retaken that throne. Do you know who number two was?
Punisher?
Schnickety, schnickety, schnoin.
Oh,
it is Wolverine, baby.
X-Men, yeah.
And then you bring in the mutants, and then behind the mutants you have Captain America, and then somewhere on those tiers, down there, was Iron Man. And they're
Iron Man carried the Avengers, though.
He carried the Avengers with the television show and with the movie. Like, yeah, he's a good character.
No.
Robert Downey is really what sold that. I think that if
Yeah.
you had gotten another casting, if the secret sauce was off just a little bit, I don't think it would have necessarily
To be
worked.
completely honest, and not to go off tangent, but if they would have done what they originally was talking about doing, because like Tom Cruise is up for it, but he backed out of it, and there was one other one that was up for it, and I don't think it would have worked. But back on topic, I think you're right. For some reason, DC can't seem to carry a standalone superhero movie without referencing or bringing in Superman in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and my fear is that James Gunn is going to fall into the same thing because his favorite superhero is Superman, and the first movie he's doing out the jump to start the new DCU, Superman Legacy. I'm like, cool. Can we not? Like, is that a thing? Can we just not do Superman? Can we just leave him alone? Put him in the Phantom Zone for a little while and bring in somebody else.
But to play devil's advocate, every Superman movie that's came out, maybe except for Return, has done very well. But you can't say the same thing about DC. Batman's been back and forth. Green Lantern flopped. The Flash flopped.
But my thing is this, like, I feel like, so here's the problem, right? The problem is, so Iron Man established what the rules were of the MCU, which is why I think that Phase 5 has faced so many problems, because now you're like, all these people have too much power, because everything from the original Avengers is, how do we overcome? What's the escalation? And now in Phase 5, you're like, who's going to be the break to this? Like, all these people have, like, infinite powers for no reason. And then you've got Kang, don't get me wrong. But all of it is that simple escalation. After you introduce a Superman who can save the world by spinning around in traveling time or doing whatever it is that Superman's going to do with his plot armor of the gods, where do you go? Who's your next villain? You have to bring in Darkseid to fight Superman, and then after that, where do you go? So, to me, it makes more sense for DC to establish a ground-level hero and then build up from there. And I don't mean Batman. Batman's been kind of done to death. I think that when the CW chose to go with Green Arrow, which was modeled after Batman, we can all admit that. We're all adults. We all know that Green Arrow was not the Green Arrow. That was Batman, but not Batman. I think that starting off there was smart, because then everything that you do can escalate from that point. And it gives you more storyline that you can go with. But not only does Superman Legacy, not only is that going to be the Man of Steel, but now it's like, it's getting chocked full of like other heroes. And I think the idea is we'll use Superman as our anchoring point. But to me, he's not a good anchoring point. The Green Lantern is a much better, let's introduce the cosmos of DC character, which is why that show I'm super passionate about. I want to see it.
Yeah.
But I think that the movies, or at least another show, should have been done to establish street level. You know what would have gotten asses in seats and made it street level and really cool? Static Shock.
But Static Shock would be good. Static Shock would be Marvel's version of Deadpool. To the point to where, as far as people know him, but the majority of people don't. Like, as far as the general masses. But
that's what I'm saying is, like, you've got enough people who know who he is to be passionate about the character showing up. You can introduce street-level crime with a person with new eyes. It's what I think they're going to try to do with the Blue Beetle, but like...
I was just about to say that. But they do have Blue Beetle.
But the Blue Beetle, I don't know. I feel like it's another one of the lost DC projects where it's like, is this part of what I should be learning for the new canon? Is this going to be brought in? It's like, it's got Shazam 2 syndrome. Like, Shazam 2, I went into expecting it to be decent. It wasn't. It's not very good. Like, the story's all over the place. I feel like the problem that superhero movies in general, superhero concepts right now are suffering from this. They are having an identity crisis.
Well, it's only because they've gone through so many different directors, and now they're trying to figure out what they want to do. And there's too many production companies, there's too many hands in the cookie jar. With Marvel, Kevin. They're trying to do the same thing with Gunn.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that it works for Gunn. I'm rooting for him to succeed because I want to see DC do better. But it's just one of those things where it's like, I walked out of The Flash, and I remember I gave it a joking title, which is what I do to all films. And I remember calling that one, I really liked Batman 3, Crisis of Infinite Identities. Because it couldn't figure out what it wanted to do or be.
Even
which is kind of,
Supergirl was like...
So
good.
She was great.
She was fantastic.
The thing is, like, the characters, fine. The story was trash. I was like, what is happening? It's got Transformers syndrome where it's like they've got like small parts. All right, so the point that San was trying to make before the Flash went back and changed the timeline just enough to make it to where, he disappeared was that the actors did fantastic, but the story wasn't that great, but he wants to see how the Blue Guyver's going to do. And for those of you who haven't watched Mark Hamill's excellent vehicle, The Guyver, you're missing out, and I suggest you do it. As a matter of fact, I think we're going to plan a watch-along party in the future. But what do you guys think? Does DC have superheroes other than Superman, considering that now there's a new Superman cartoon on Cartoon Network, which is actually pretty good? But my thing is, the Man of Steel, he's too bulletproof, and he needs something to penetrate that heart. Like, that plot armor's got to go away a little bit to make him interesting, and I just don't feel it. Maybe it's because I support Luthor Corps. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. And while you're down there, hit that like, subscribe, and little bell for notifications. That way, you'll know the next time that I want to go off on a super tangent. Thanks, guys, and have a great one.